Ladies and gentlemen, the Denver Broncos were 11-2 in one-score games last season. They were minus 45 in sack differential. They were eighth, or no, sorry, plus 45, minus 45, plus 45 in sack differential. They were the eighth healthiest team in the world. And before that, the year before that, the sixth healthiest team in the world. Is the regression monster coming for the Denver Broncos, your AFC 1 seed? This is part 10 of 32 NFL breakdowns that I'll be doing on this channel. My name is Tony Squares. Welcome to the Tony Squares NFL channel. And we got 10th team coming in, and Denver has a lot of question marks for a team that had such a dominant season on paper. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper to see, was it truly this dominant Denver team? Should they have been the Super Bowl participant from the AFC? Would they have performed better than the New England Patriots did? Should Bo Nix not have gotten injured? There are a lot of question marks about this team. There's a lot of good things about this Denver Broncos team, but that number in particular, the one in the top right corner, is the one that jumped out to me when I was doing my off-season research, because the AFC 1 seed, 14-3 last season, for them to drop down to 9.5 wins, which is what the Vegas projected win total for Denver this season is, would be a pretty precipitous drop, especially if they were to hit that under. A 9-8 team after a 14-3 run would be crazy drop. And yet, that's where the number has stayed. And that's what we're going to answer today. How many wins do those Denver Broncos get? As you can see in the rundown next to me, we're breaking down each team the same exact way, starting off with the good, the bad, and the ugly, three big ticket items that I want to dive a little bit deeper into. Then we're going to grade the roster, both offense and defense, label a fantasy football target that you should be grabbing from the Denver Broncos, and then finally go through the schedule and predict every victory and loss for this Denver team and decide at the end, have we hit the over or have we hit the under of 9.5? As I said, Denver's got some crazy probability statistics staring at it heading into 2026. A lot of things went well for them last season, and it's rare that those things can continue. Even the health of the overall roster, to go from the sixth healthiest team and then stay as the eighth healthiest team, is a rare feat. Normally that does come back down to the middle, but it is probability. There is no predicting how these teams will do. An 11-2 record in one-score games usually comes back to the mean. But then again, Denver and Sean Payton are good enough with that defense to win these one-score games consistently. But the craziest stat I brought up before we even get to the good, the bad, and the ugly, the craziest stat that I read during my breakdown of this team came from that Warren Sharp book that I like to reference so much, because he threw a stat out there from Denver that blew my mind. Because last year, this 14-3 unit trailed in 15 games on the season, which is normally a bad thing. You don't want to be trailing in a football game. And yet, through NFL history, for teams that trailed in at least 15 of their games, there was no team that won 14 of those like the Denver Broncos. There was no team that won 13 games when trailing on 15. No team won 12 games. Hell, no team in NFL history had been trailing for at least 15 of their games and won 11 of them. And Denver came away with 14, the one seed in the AFC. I don't know if that's going to continue. I don't know if there's any chance in hell that that could happen again, but we're going to try and figure that out, because it's time to break down the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Denver Broncos. And the good is what everyone knows about this team. It is that defense. Third in the nation in points per drive, third in yards per drive, first in touchdowns forced per drive. They just did everything right. But the best part is they were only 28th in turnovers forced per drive. They could get better, which is a rare thing to say. They could get better if they just force a few more turnovers. It could be an even more dominant unit, because they were good at every facet of the game. Getting after the quarterback, they were third in the league in pressure rate. I think Nick Bonito was second in the league overall in individual pressure rate. And yes, they did lose John Franklin Myers in free agency, but the top 10 snap getters on this team are coming back for year two in this run. So this should be the same unit, refresh it, and run it out there again. And as I said, pressure wise, second in success rate. They were second in limiting explosive plays. Even against the run game, they were dominant. Running backs, the percentage of runs that they got 5 or more yards, it was the second best rate against this Denver defense. They stopped every single bit of it, which is why they were in every single game, even in the ones that they were trailing. And it should absolutely continue. Them and Houston, bar none, are the two best defenses with what they're returning to work with and the coaching staff that they have coming into this season. And yes, defense is relatively an unknown because things change, schemes change. But when you're returning this many players from that same starting unit, it should be as dominant as it was before, even playing the Justin Herberts and Pat Mahomes in their division. Denver is going to be a tough out in every single game. And they need to be, because just like we talked about Dallas a few hours ago on this channel, and it was part 9 of the 32-page breakdown. Again, if you want to join in live while I'm doing these recordings, we are taking comments on the YouTube side. We can make this interactive. But if you're watching this on a replay, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and turn those notifications on so the next time I go live, you are notified to come in here and party with us. Because in that Dallas breakdown, we talked about how excellent the offense was in reverse of how bad the defense was, and how that offense, even in 2026, with the improvements on the defense, needs to carry Dallas in order for them to succeed. The defense for Denver carried this 2025 unit because the offense, for the most part, was lacking. Surprisingly, Bo Nix led the NFL in pass attempts for a 14-win team that wanted to play close defensive games. Bo Nix was out there slinging it, and it didn't necessarily work out all the time. That offense was 28th in the league in punts per drive. They stalled out quite a bit, even though it's an excellent offensive line. First in pass protection grades, and should be in 2026 as well. I am hesitant to say Bo Nix is the all-star franchise quarterback. I was hesitant when he came out in the draft. I was hesitant when Denver spent that high of a pick on him. But Sean Payton went and got his guy, and the results on paper have spoken for themselves. The win-loss record for Denver, it speaks for itself. But Bo Nix, should he be healthy, even in last season, had the lowest yards per attempt of any quarterback that made the playoffs last season other than Bryce Young. And if Bryce Young is the only person you're beating, that's not a good quarterback. So I'm hoping it improves thanks to that man, Jalen Waddle, coming into town, because I do believe this man will unlock so many parts of an offense that desperately needs playmakers. Cortland Sutton, great boundary receiver, a bigger body, yet that man, Jalen Waddle, can do magic with the ball in his hands, and it helps out the other guys, the Pat Bryants of the world. Waddle will really make this offense sing and will help out Bo Nix quite a bit, because he needs to be better than the yards per attempt that he was last year. 28th in the league in yards per completion as well. And if Waddle doesn't work out, the amount of draft capital they spend in that trade will really hamper the ceiling of what this great defense can be, because this is a Super Bowl team on the defensive side of the ball. The offense just needs to be just good enough to get them there. And yet still, that 9.5 stares at you in the top right-hand corner. A Super Bowl team does not have a 9.5 win total. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest boulder holding back this Denver offense is not my lack of confidence in Bo Nix, but it is rather my lack of confidence in a successful rushing attack for Denver. Because when we think of great defensive teams that want to play close scoring games, they eke out victories on the ground. And last year, this running back core, even though it was an absolute dominant offensive line, second in the league in yards before contact, this offensive line was opening up holes left and right. Yet, no matter who was behind there running the football, they were 22nd in EPA per rush. And they spent a high draft pick on R.J. Harvey. We don't know if he's going to be the starter. J.K. Dobbins is going to be the starter. But it was very, very hard for Harvey to do anything last season, even though those holes were opening up for him. 49 running backs had 100 rushes or more last season. R.J. Harvey was 48th in carries that went 10 yards or more. Even worse, I have it written down here, he was 42nd in yards per carry, 39th in carries out of those 49 that went for no gain or a loss of yards, 41st in success rate, 42nd in yards after contact. R.J. Harvey was supposed to be a difference maker, and whether it was lingering injuries that hampered him, it definitely wasn't the offensive line or the play calling, because there were holes there to be had. So if R.J. Harvey's not going to take that next step and is not going to be the guy that you drafted, if J.K. Dobbins is very good veteran, but he's not exactly going to jump off the page, much like Javonte Williams that we just talked about with Dallas. We wonder, can Jonah Coleman, the new rookie, do anything to improve this run game? Could he be the guy that you should be targeting in fantasy football? Well, when it comes to what he does well and what RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins do not do well, Jonah Coleman, 71% of his yards came after contact when he was in college. 71% of his yards came after contact. It was by far the highest in the draft class. So maybe Jonah Coleman's the guy that can unlock this rushing offense, make life a little bit easier for both Sean Payton and Bo Nix. And maybe Jalen Waddle's the guy to unlock the passing offense. And yet still, that 9.5 stares at you. It's a staggering number for a team that did make improvements along the offensive line, is bringing back this dominant defense, and yet still the regression monster is the one that stares you in the face. But let's grade this unit, starting off with the offense. And I want to go right down the offensive line from Garrett Bowles all the way. I mean, Quinn Meinerz, I'm still mad that the Green Bay Packers didn't draft him on the interior of the offensive line. They did spend another fourth-round pick, even though they didn't have a lot of draft picks, to beef up the depth on this chart. But there's nothing wrong on this offensive line. You might bat your eyes at a couple of players who might take a step back, but as a unit altogether, whether it's age or anything else, this offensive line is flat out dominant. And it has depth behind it. This is an A-plus offensive line. When it comes to the quarterback room, Bo Nix with Jarrett Stidham behind him, we saw Jarrett Stidham is not necessarily a guy who can come in and win you a game, even though very tough shoes to fill, AFC Championship in that weather. But this is a C-minus quarterback room, and if Bo Nix is not fully healthy, it's even worse. Quarterback could really hold this team back. And then running back, we need Jonah Coleman to step up, man, because J.K. Dobbins is just a guy to me, and R.J. Harvey proved that even though he was a second-round pick in 2025, he did not have it last season. So this is another D-plus running back room. And then when it comes to the wide receivers, the pass catchers overall, I'm begging for them to get a tight end. And they did draft one, but I don't know if he's necessarily going to be ready in year one to play. More of a project, Jolly is. Evan Ingram and Trotman, though, together, that doesn't scare me at all. That doesn't help Bo Nix out at all. Jalen Waddle is going to need to carry this entire team. And we're hearing great things about Pat Bryant in camp. Cortland Sutton continues to be a dude you have to worry about. The wide receivers, I'm not worried, because they have a lot of speed on the outside, a lot of people that they can float in there. Troy Franklin is getting a lot of buzz as well. The tight end is a nothing burger. But can these wide receivers make this entire offense sing? You got to hope so, because it's the best part of this offensive line. It's a C+, maybe a B- wide receiver room if Jalen Waddle can truly be that number one guy. But yeah, tough running back, tough quarterback, and then the defense makes none of that matter. Because if you look at this, there is not a hole here. And yes, they lost John Franklin Myers, but they have the depth to replace him with not players that are good as John Franklin Myers, but everyone else here can absolutely do their job to the best of their ability. The D-line is a bunch of guys that don't necessarily stand out. Like if you were building a franchise in Madden, I doubt they're going to be the highest rated guys you can pick, but they're all absolute studs, veterans that know what they're doing and play into the scheme. I give it a B+ because no one sings off the list, although they did throw another third-round pick in there to try and make it even better. The depth in the pass rushers is what really helps this defense, because they love to throw a million different schemes out there. Let Singleton stand out there on his own as an off-ball linebacker and just throw Benito and Cooper to the wolves. And again, Benito, second best pressure rate in the entire NFL. Overall, this unit was the third best pressure rate, and it's because of these great players off the edge. A+ linebacker group. Really is an A+ linebacker group. There's not a weakness in sight. And then it's an A. I don't like Riley Moss as much. We'll just go an A defensive back core, but everything else works. And Pat Surtain's the best cornerback walking planet Earth. He's the best cornerback walking planet Earth. They even threw a first-round pick at Jahdae Barron, and they have him, according to our lads, on the second string. That's how good this defensive back core is. And can Hufanga stay healthy for a full season? Can all this work out like it has before? As long as it does, man, there's no one that can beat this defense. This is a Super Bowl winning defense. And you just wonder, how the hell are we at 9.5 for the win total? Doesn't make sense. But when it comes to fantasy targets, My hesitancy for this team is that offense, and I'm not drafting Bo Nix as one of my quarterbacks. I'm definitely not taking any of the running backs unless I wanna take a late throw at Jonah Coleman and hope he's the guy, but, hey, I'm not picking him to be a starter right off the bat, and while I do love Courtland Sutton and his consistency, I really think Jalen Waddle is gonna have a huge season in Denver. For a quarterback, again, that even though they won 14 games, had the most pass attempts in the entire NFL, and a lot of that went to the wide receiver. Jalen Waddle could eat this season. And when they threw to the wide receiver last year, Denver had the second highest screen rate, the third highest go rate, and was in the top 12 in crossing rate to those wide receivers. Those are all three things that this man, that's all he did in Miami. That's all that Miami offense was. That's why it worked great one season and then teams figured it out. But this guy fits that scheme so perfectly for the speed, the quickness, the yards after the catch, the ability to break out of man coverage, sit in a zone. Doesn't matter. Jalen Waddle can do it. And he has always been behind Tyreek Hill because as when Tyreek Hill was in his prime, there was arguably no one better. This guy as a solo wide receiver one with the threat of Courtland Sutton on the outside that you cannot leave alone. You have to add the safety help for the go balls for him as well. This guy is going to have a huge, huge season. Right now, he's the wide receiver 19 in best ball. You can get him around pick 38 in those best ball drafts. And if you're playing a double running back off the top, or maybe you want to get a better wide receiver, if you start off an equal running back wide receiver build, Jalen Waddle is going to be awesome. And that's the fantasy target that I'm getting both in dynasty leagues and redraft leagues and guillotine leagues because of the start of Denver's season here. I like Waddle a lot. I think it's an automatic wide receiver one. But we're not here to talk about fantasy fully. We're not here to grade the roster. We're not here to talk about top-down discussions about this team. Instead, we need to get into the nitty-gritty, and we need to break down this schedule. And it's my favorite thing to do every single year. As you can tell, I got my little Google sheet there. Let me get Jalen Waddle out of the way. And this is the 18-week schedule for your Denver Broncos. There's a lot of red and a lot of green on here. Both of those, as you can see in the key, have to do with the rest advantages and disadvantages that this team is facing. Because Denver did so well last year, they're put up in a lot of big-ticket games. There's a Christmas game on there. There's a Friday night special on there. There's a Thursday night game, Monday night right off the bat in week 1, Kansas City, Sunday night against the Rams in week 3. We are putting the Denver Broncos in prime time. And because of that, we do get a lot of troubling rest disadvantages as we go through it. And that 9.5 again is staring at you for a 14-win team. Like, how can we not get there? And as you can see with week 7, week 9, and where is it, week 16, there are already results in the column there because of those are the videos I've done in the past. And that may change as we get through here on the season, on this build. But I don't think I'm going to hedge my bet too much here because I think I'm pretty confident in my feelings about the Denver Broncos. And we're starting right off the bat with a big question mark in week 1. At Kansas City, these two teams, no matter who's good or who's bad that particular season, these two teams always play fun games. And is Pat Mahomes going to be on the field? And if he is Pat Mahomes going to be 100% on the field? The NFL schedule makers certainly hope so, because they would not have put this game in prime time if they thought it was Justin Fields wearing a Chiefs jersey. Is Rashee Rice, is Travis Kelce, are they going to knock off the rust that we see in training camp where they can't get open against Kansas City receivers? Will they be up to snuff in week 1? Is the Cyrus Allen situation true? Is Xavier Worthy going to be healthy? There are so many question marks for Kansas City in this game. And I think Denver's going to take it. Even though it's on the road, even though it's Kansas City, I just think there's so many question marks for Kansas City at this moment that Denver's got that one in the bag. And then when we go to Jacksonville, I out on the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. This rest disadvantage one day, week 2, not that big of a deal considering those rest advantages and disadvantages compound later in the year as the bruises and the little body bumps grow. Week 2, we should be A-okay, and think Denver's a better team. Before they play the Rams in Denver, Mile High, Sunday Night Football. This Rams team is a bit older. Will they struggle with their conditioning week 3 in Mile High? I don't think so. I'm giving Denver their first loss of the season right there, and then a back-to-back road stretch on the West Coast as we just rifle through all the West Coast teams here from week 3 to week 6. But at San Francisco and then at division rival Chargers back-to-back. This one's tough because I don't think San Fran's going to be great. I do think the Chargers are going to be really solid and really tough. The Chargers have their own rest disadvantages. When we break down their schedule in about a week here, it's disgusting what the NFL did to the Chargers schedule this year. But I'm a little concerned that both of these games are going to be extremely difficult to win. And I don't think Denver can win both of them. Yeah, so I will give them San Francisco, but I'm going to switch that. I'm going to give San Francisco the win, and I'm going to give the LA Chargers a loss in this division, in this divisional race. And then it is the defending Super Bowl champions after a huge win at your division rival in SoFi. We're sitting there at 3-2 against Seattle. Yeah. Yeah, we're giving the loss there because we've seen it before. After those big divisional wins, everyone's pumped up, and then a quick turnaround against a really tough Seattle team. That defense, that Seattle-Denver game might first 1 to 10 wins. And I got more faith in Seattle to pull that off. So keeping the win at Arizona, especially with the rest advantage, and then Kansas City coming back on you. The reason why that Kansas City game is in green is because this is a short week road game for Kansas City. They play, I believe, the Monday night in week 7. Quick turnaround to head to Denver. That's tough for anybody. And I did want to find a way to split the KC games here, but if I'm given the week 1 win, I definitely don't think Denver loses week 8. And then we go to Carolina again with the rest disadvantage. And again, we're in the same situation where we have a big morale boosting win right before the bye week against the division, where I believe undefeated against the division so far. And then we drop the ball versus Carolina. I'm going to keep that there. 5-4 heading into the bye. This team's better than 5-4. And it shows here. Big W. I have the Pittsburgh game here as a red, and I'm not entirely sure why. Because if Vegas is at home, it should not be. That's not really a short week road game. So I'm gonna take that off, and I'm gonna give Denver the win there, and I'm gonna have them beating Miami as well. Man, we come out of the bye running. These are 3 teams that Denver is far and away better than: Vegas, Pittsburgh, and Miami. So we're 5-4 at the bye. We're 8-4 now, and we only need 2 more wins to hammer home this over. And by the way, you can see the numbers behind it. The over and under are pretty evenly juiced here. And that's that is the first time we've had an over-under on this channel. This is DraftKings Live line right now. It's the first time they've both been minus money. The people don't know what to do, 9.5 over or under. So we're really trying to decide where we land on this. Denver is predicted to be a playoff team, minus 140, plus 225 to win the division. That's third worst in the division. Both Kansas City and the Chargers have better odds, or I guess worse odds, are more favored to win that division than the Denver Broncos, a team, again, that went 14-3 last year. I don't want Denver to be good. I'm not rooting for Denver. As I said at the beginning of this video, I don't think Bo Nix is that good of a quarterback. I have a lot of question marks about that run game and who's running the ball. But 14-3 with this schedule, especially after the bye, I already have them at 8 wins. And if you want to say the Jets in New York are a better team this year, they have veterans, they're trying to win games. If you want to say the Jets steal that one, I'm fine with you. I'm fine with that. And then at Vegas, I don't see Vegas, even if this is Fernando, especially if this is Fernando. Imagine Fernando Mendoza going up against the Denver Broncos defense as a rookie. with just Brock Bowers and that is that offensive line fixed with one center that you brought in? Is Ashton Genty gonna be a dude? They have no wide receivers whatsoever. I'm predicting a sweep for Denver. I'm predicting they sweep the Raiders, they sweep the Chiefs. I do think they lose to Buffalo because Buffalo, I think, is a very high-powered offense on Christmas. That'll be a blast to watch. I'll take Buffalo to win that game, but I don't think New England is very good at all. And we're hitting this over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's 10 wins. That's 10 wins for you, Denver Broncos. And I will take the Chargers to steal this one here at the very end. Now, does that 10-7, does that Chargers win keep the Denver Broncos out of the playoffs? Does that keep them out of the divisional crown? At 10-7, though, I do hit this over. I do. I just see, especially after that bye, and I gave them a couple of weird losses with the New York Jets, with San Francisco, with Carolina. Like, I gave them a couple of weird losses, and I still see this as an over. The 10-7 Denver Broncos after going 14-3 last season. Is it enough to make the playoffs? I already have, I believe, Baltimore's at 12 wins. I have Buffalo at 13, or that might be switched. But either way, those are both double-digit win teams that I've done so far in the AFC. Cincinnati, too, is a double-digit team I have in the AFC. And again, we're making sure all the wins and all the losses equal out at the end. So this right now with Denver at 10-7 is the fourth double-digit win team in the AFC, and we're only on team number 10 overall. So that might not be enough to get them in the playoffs, but we shall see when it's all said and done. And that is it for the breakdown of the Denver Broncos. Tomorrow, we are double dipping the NFC North, starting with the Detroit Lions, who were somehow fourth last season. They were last place in the NFC North, so they get just a cupcake walk of a schedule. But have they fixed what ailed them last season and forced them to be 9-8? And then after that, we're breaking down. Do I have anything near me that I can show you? I do. Breaking down my Green Bay Packers. I have a lot of question marks about my team. I have a lot of question marks about my team, and they will all be answered in tomorrow's slate of videos as we break down all 32 NFL teams before the season kicks off. We're in there. Preseason week 2. I shall see you next time, should I be able to end this stream successfully. No one ever knows.